AskReddit by not an interesting gack. Gunshot survivors of Reddit, what does it feel like to get shot? I took a 7.62 to the stomach in Afghanistan. Felt like somebody had smacked with like, I dunno, a flizzwater or something. A short sharp smack. Didn't feel much until I tried to come out of cover and I just couldn't make my body listen to me. Then the pin hit. I'd put it at like, I dunno, an 11/10. Bullet blew off half my liver. Chest .357 Magnum, through sternum, lung, ricochet off of rib, through scapula. Still have half under my shoulder blade. Felt like I was stabbed in the chest with a hot fire poker mounted to the bottom of someone's foot when they drop kicked me. Was not expected to survive. Severe blood loss, of course. Very good EMS team kept the liquids where they were supposed to and great doctors and nurses kept me going. Wow. How did it happen? I didn't really feel either of mine until about 10 minutes later. Took a grazing shot off my left arm and one in the right hip that went out my back, thankfully missing my kidney. The arm felt like a bee sting, the hip knocked me back a step, the adrenaline at the time masked the pain. What was the context of the shots? I was shot during a home robbery. I'm probably one of the luckiest people alive. The bullet, no joke, scratched my cheek and then went through the top of my ear, and also a bullet grazed my wrist and opened it up. I didn't feel anything but just liquid running down my face and my worst was burning. Scariest night of my life, and RIP Christian. Miss you so much, buddy. Here is proof. www.cron.com/neighborhood/article/man-charge-code/article/man-charge-attempted-burglary-apartment-6236325.php. Authorities said Burke and Brandon Fries, 21, fought the suspects for their guns, which were fired during the struggle. The two masked men fled, and investigators initially did not have any information about which direction they went or whether they escaped from the scene by car. Both Burke and Fries had been shot and were transported to Herman Memorial Hospital in Katy. Burke was pronounced dead upon arrival at the emergency room, less than 4 miles away. Fuck. Did you know the guy who tried to rob you, or was it a random thing? I got shot in the ankle when I was 10. Honestly, I thought a rock hit me. Just a slight stinging feeling. Didn't really hurt. I even kept running with my bike. Later at the hospital was a different story. The doctor tried to remove the bullet without putting me under. He said the pain medicine would make me forget everything. He gave up after a few minutes of hell. And, whatever he gave me didn't work as described, but it did oddly make everyone look purple from what I remember. So maybe it half worked, lol. Probably ketamine. We give to kids because we don't want to put to sleep because pain is temporary and dead babies are forever. Just didn't give you enough to disassociate. Right thigh, 9mm, grazing shot across the front of the leg about 4 inches above the knee. It plowed a channel of skin and some flesh off the front. It felt searing hot, like someone had laid a hot piece of metal on my leg for a second. Then, the pain went away for a while until the adrenaline wore off. It honestly hurt worse 6 hours later than it did when it happened. Wild. This is the exact description of the first gunshot wound I ever saw on an EMT ride-along. I was randomly shot while walking down the street with my girlfriend in 2013. I didn't fall to the ground or anything like that. Walked into a store and told them to call the cops. It didn't hurt too bad at first. A slight pinch. The heat builds up and the pain comes in. Some throbbing as the blood pumps out. I was extremely lucky as the bullet lodged between my lower right ribs in the back just above my kidney. The aftermath was a really atchy back. What I remember most was how everyone around me except for my girlfriend just walked around us like nothing happened. I was suffering and potentially dying and everyone just ignored it. Not my problem, I suppose. I lost a lot of faith in people that day. Where I accidentally discharged my 9 and I was hit in the head. While it was going on I honestly did not feel any pain, but everything slowed way down. Healing and recuperating was the hardest. My mouth and jaw was wired shut for several months. Had to have complete facial reconstruction surgery. Had to take a piece of bone from my skull and graft it to my nose just so I could have a nose. I also had to have a feeding tube for almost a whole year. I've recovered fully and I'm very lucky. I remember mostly everything. Some things from the incident I don't remember, but for the most part, I have my memories intact. Was it accidental or a suicide attempt? If it was the former, how many people thought JT was the latter? Either way, glad you are still here. My GF was shot, not me, but she said it felt hot and damp, like impact, but not particularly painful until much later. She was in shock and damp, went to the hospital. After hours she said it started to hurt. This was my response too. It feels incredibly hot. It's like getting hit with a bee that's on fire. It burns like fuck. But then, and only later, does this fucking hurt. The part 2 is that you might think you understand pressure, but get shot. It doesn't just hurt, it mashes into you. A good friend of mine got hit with a ricochet from a 9mm that hit his calf. There was drive-by about a block down. He was outside of the bar smoking a cig when it happened, ran inside and felt his leg burning but decided to keep drinking. He had about 3 more drinks before someone mentioned he was bleeding, went to the ER absolutely hammered and was fine after surgery. Smoking kills. Shot twice. Second one resulted in separation from the army. The first was in my armor piece, no penetration but it felt like I was kicked by a horse. The second one was into my pelvis and it's the worst pain I ever felt, and I still engaged in combat for the next 45 minutes before I could safely be moved back 10/10 shitty. Separation from the army as in that caused your military career to be over? I was shot when I was 9. I didn't feel anything at first because my mind was in fight or flight mode and my only focus was dialing 911 and saving my mother. I only started feeling the immense stinging burning sensation when I was loaded into the ambulance. I want to say it's as if you had a hot iron shoved through you. Edit. I was shot with a .45 caliber. I survived multiple gunshot wounds. One shattered my elbow. It swung in the wrong direction, and another damaged a nerve, rendering me being unable to move my foot up along with loss of feeling throughout my entire leg. Edit 2. My mother unfortunately passed away at the scene. I'm doing well now, although I still deal with PTSD. It's much less. This was over 11 years ago that we fell victim to a home invasion. The perpetrator was caught and has life in prison, no parole. I had the option to choose the death penalty, however, I felt I would have been cheated if he didn't have to suffer. So sorry about the loss of your mother. No one should lose a family member that way. I'm glad you made it. It hurt, like, a lot. Was shot from behind. I was running away. Small caliber was best guess, maybe .22. Since it went in and out of my right arm. Entry just left and down my arm from my elbow. Exit on forearm opposite side. X-ray showed hairline fracture on the ulna. Since the bone held and wasn't shattered by the bullet, they assumed small caliber. Felt like getting hit in the elbow with a hammer. Then warmth, which I later found was the blood leaking. No major arteries and lucky ricochet away from my center mass. Bloody clothes and ambulance ride. Painkillers and 8-hour observation to make sure no swelling which could lead to amputation. Trauma room for 8 hours, then sent home with painkiller prescription. Would not recommend. Freak ricochet at the firing range. Felt like a slap on my shoulder. The projectile had lost so much speed it didn't cause a bruise. Lucky, but I'd still shit myself. Wish I knew. I have no memory of the event. I had gotten off the rail and was waiting at a bus stop with my GF when I was struck by a stray bullet. It entered around my right shoulder and splintered across to my lower left shoulder. Ended up giving me a spinal cord injury, leaving me paralyzed from the chest down unfortunately. I just don't like the fact that my GF has to live with that memory by herself. I was hit twice during separate tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. The first time the round caught the armor plate and felt like I had been hit with a baseball bat. It knocked the wind out of me, and when we got back to base I had a huge bruise on my chest. It hurt to breathe for a few days and getting dressed was a rem fare, but I got light duty during that time. The second time around clipped the side of my neck. Now that one really hurt and there was a lot of blood. Think of your worst Razornik X10. But the pain was cut by the adrenaline. And X200B. Edit, since some people have asked. Number 1, it was probably a 7.62 X39 round, Akaran AK bullet. You could sneeze and find an AK over there. Number 2, body armor is made to stop bullets, not absorb or shed a bullet's kinetic energy. In simpler terms, not vibranium. Number 3, I did receive a purple heart for the second hit, not the first. As Gunny put it, you want a medal for a little ouchie. That may not be verbatim, but it was close to 20 years ago. The fucking luck you had, dude. Shit. Glad it wasn't worse.